One's ready. One's ready. Go!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. This is your daily drop for the 16th of June, brought to you by ATAKALEAK. If you guys head over to onesready.com, over on the top right-hand side, it'll say prep and then partner discounts. Once you get to that page, scroll down to the second one and you'll see ATAKALEAK. If you click on any of those URLs or those hyperlinks or anything like that, it'll take you to ATAKALEAK's website. Now, if you don't have pop-up blockers enabled, a prompt will show up or a pop-up window will show up with a generated promo code for you to use. That'll get you a discount on any of the ATAKALEAK gear. So if you're in the market for high volume masks, rocket fins, booties, Alice Ruck, smartwatch, whatever it happens to be, they are your go-to folks to get that, and make sure you get your discount by going and doing exactly what I just talked through. All right. So this is the joint news for you. Pentagon reviewing base defense. The Defense Department is evaluating base defenses in response to Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb, which used commercially available drones to destroy Russian bombers far from conflict zones. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth highlighted the growing threat of affordable, attritable drones and a concern echoed by RAND, R-A-N-D, and the Mitchell Institute reports warning of insufficient air defense of Air Force bases, particularly in the Pacific and European theaters. I would not just over there. I would actually say that is the fact in the UK, in the US as well. It is definitely not something that we are prepared for, which is unfortunate because, man, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It is a difficult problem to solve when you talk about the square footage of a base, the amount. Like if you just take Nellis Air Force Base, it's on I don't know, I'd say probably 50% of the base, of the border of the base, is surrounded by commercial residents and some industrial, like, factories and warehouses and stuff like that. Super easy for somebody over there just to launch something and, fly it over the walls at Nellis. Same goes with like Operation Spiderweb, putting things in vehicles, driving them on the base, and then having them launch. Like that's something that's an issue too. So it is a difficult problem to solve. All right, next, foreign military sales process overhaul. The U.S. Central Command Chief urged Congress to overhaul the foreign military sales process, citing its low bureaucracy and inability to meet allies' urgent security needs. Compared to China's swift, flexible arms sales, the U.S. system risks losing influence as partners turn to competitors. This is a big, not just moneymaker for us, right? When I say moneymaker, I mean dollar bills, but I also mean making sure that the United States is the partner of choice when it comes to our allies. If they require something from us or require a certain, material solution, excuse me, if they require a material solution and they can't produce it themselves and we have the availability to give it to them, they want to get it from us. If we're not able to give it to them, but China is, then they're going to go to China, and then they become their partner of choice and that kind of stuff, their go-to. So, whether you agree with us providing things to Ukraine, things to Israel or other countries, right? There is some reason behind it. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't know. I'm not even going to tell you whether I agree with it or not, because there are some things that I definitely agree with, other things I don't, so it's a very nuanced issue. All right, next, Indo-Pacific Command security measures. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command heightened security protocols due to potential threats, raising the force protection condition to Bravo and suspending the Trusted Traveler program. Units were directed to monitor travel, ensure anti-terrorism plans, and conduct 100% ID checks at bases. I actually thought that they were 100% ID check policies at every single one of the bases, but I guess not. Next, NORTHCOM increases base security. U.S. Northern Command implemented elevated security measures at its bases due to unspecified global events. Employees and visitors should expect increased wait times, though no specific threat was disclosed, despite recent peaceful protests and a Minnesota lawmaker's assassination. Yeah, I think before I saw this, it was either yesterday or this morning they ended up catching the alleged. I'm going to say alleged because there are definitely some things in there that smell a bit fishy. And not to be too conspiratorial with you, but like there's some funkiness going on with that whole thing. Next, U.S. aids Israel against Iranian missiles. The U.S. military assisted Israel in defending against Iranian missile attacks following Israel's preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear program. Israeli officials plan further strikes, building on prior U.S. support against Iranian drone and missile assault. Next, Air Force news. Air Force Global Strike Command commander on nuclear deterrence. General Thomas Bussiere, Air Force Global Strike Command commander, discussed the unprecedented challenge of deterring two nuclear adversaries in a podcast. He highlighted the B-21 Raider and the B-52 upgrades and AI's role in processing intelligence for nuclear deterrence amidst a volatile global environment. Yeah, no kidding. I may have to check that out and see what he has to say. I'm not being facetious when I say that. Like, it is good to be able to get senior leaders on podcasts and interviews and listen to what they have to say. On the side of a lot of times they're so reserved and so measured in what they say that you don't actually get anything out of it at all. So it can get very frustrating. You go, hey, why the hell did I waste my time listening to this? So of course you might also say that about listening to my dumbass too. So there you go. Next, Travis Air Force Base humanitarian aid delivery. Airmen from Travis Air Force Base delivered 55,000 pounds of humanitarian aid to Guatemala and El Salvador via the Denton program. The mission, flown on a C-17 Globemaster, supported non-governmental organizations aiding developing nations. Next, Air Force adjusts PCS, or permanent change of station, procedures. The Air Force reverted to its legacy system for personally procured moves to address issues with low pay rates deterring moving companies. Military families faced disruptions as movers canceled, prompting a return to the Defense Personal Property System for smoother relocations. That's the program that I used. The new one that they implemented, I didn't get a chance to use, which is fine. But even with DPPS, or the Defense Personal Property System, like, it was still not great. They were still underpaying contracts and underpaying companies, moving companies, to move people, and we would get no shows and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't great. We only had a no show. I believe it. I mean, we only had a no show one time, I believe. We did have somebody show up same day. They were supposed to be there 3 days prior, showed up the same day as they were supposed to take everything away. And they boxed, packed, disassembled everything in our house and loaded it on a truck and took off. They did that in 1 day. That sounds ideal, but I do not recommend that. That was not a fun day. All right, next. Pilot training squadron commander relieved. The commander of the 71st Student Squadron at Vance Air Force Base was relieved less than a month after taking command due to a loss of confidence in leadership. No further details or decisions were provided. Okay. Space Force news: Schriever Space Force Base and Kármán Line annexation. Colonel Kenneth Clark, Space Force Base Delta Command or Space Base Delta 1 commander, jeez, man, warned that Colorado Springs' proposed Carbon Line annexation near Schriever Space Force Base could disrupt satellite tracking due to electromagnetic interference and urban encroachment. Developers argue the project offers housing solutions, but risks to base operations remain a concern. Well, you guys can't risk operations. That is priority number one. So you guys will have to figure that out. All right, next, Space Force astronaut on ISS mission. Space Force Colonel Nick Hague discussed his International Space Station mission, test pilot training, and Space Force roles in positioning, navigating, and space domain awareness on a podcast. He shared insights into readapting to Earth's gravity after 6 months in space. Golly, man, that had to be heinous. Can't imagine all the atrophy in his muscles and not being able to stand and all that kind of stuff. I know that we talked to, oh man, now I'm losing his name. We had one of the astronauts on, and he talked about that he religiously does triathlons. Petite, that's his name. Religiously does triathlons at a high level too, and he did one. I think he said 3 weeks after coming back from space, and it was not a great decision to use his words. All right, next, ULA launch complex demolition for SpaceX. Launch Complex 37 at Cape Canaveral was demolished to make way for SpaceX Starship facilities, including new launch pads and infrastructure. The Air Force awaits an environmental impact statement before finalizing leasing decisions. I don't even know how to say this, but Lompoc, LOMPOC residents on SpaceX launches. Lompoc residents voiced concerns over noise from a proposed increase to 100 annual SpaceX launches at Vandenberg Space Force Base, criticizing vague environmental impact data. Some supported the plan, citing economic benefits to the region. Yeah, it's going to bring a shit ton of jobs to you guys. That must be a town, I'm guessing, since it says residents. Fucking dumbass. Of interest, White House reviews SpaceX contracts. The Defense Department and NASA are examining SpaceX contracts amid a public feud between President Trump and CEO Elon Musk. The review could enable swift contract cancellations, highlighting government reliance on SpaceX for space launches. Yeah, we are relying on SpaceX. No one else can do what he does. No one else. So what are we even talking about here when you start talking about reviewing contracts? What are you going to do? Set us back another 5 years? We're already losing the space race. And you want to worry about contracts because Trump and Elon, although we're fighting, are now buddies again? Like, I don't understand this. Trump rejects Israeli plan to kill Iranian leader. President Trump vetoed an Israeli proposal to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, with U.S. officials stating they would avoid targeting Iran's leadership unless Americans are killed. Israeli PM Netanyahu denied the discussion, but affirmed Israel's autonomy to future actions. How many of you guys actually believe that conversation happened? It 100% happened. Like the fact that this dude would deny it. Fucking unreal, man. China's nuclear arsenal growth. China's nuclear stockpile grew by over 100 warheads in 2025, surpassing 600 according to the SIPRI. With 350 ICBM silos nearing completion, China could rival the US in Russian capabilities by 2030, complicating global deterrence dynamics. China with a nuke, or with a whole bunch of nukes. That's scary. All right. Paris Air Show amid global tensions. The Paris Air Show opened with U.S. companies eyeing opportunities and risks amid rising global tensions and technological competition. European nations are vying for lead 6th-generation fighter development, with significant U.S. congressional and Air Force presence. Everybody wants some of that F-47 and B-21. All right, next, U.S. Air Force readiness for large-scale strike. The U.S. Air Force could match Israel's recent 200 fighter strike force on... Let me read that again. The U.S. Air Force could match Israel's recent 200 fighter strike on Iran, but would require global sourcing and risk acceptance due to low readiness and mission-capable rates. Experts debate whether the Air Force could overcome training and maintenance shortfalls if needed. So what that means is that if we're going to use Central Command, right? CENTCOM area, the Middle East, there's not enough tankers, there's not enough fighters, there's not enough munitions to put, essentially warheads on foreheads, 200 of them in that one area at one time. It would definitely require pulling assets from Indo-Pacific, Southern Command, Northern Command, UCOM, AFRICOM, and it wouldn't take much, pulling from them, but especially because CENTCOM, but it would definitely take some logistical work to get things going to do something like that. All right. Iran's F-35 shoot down claims. Iran claimed to have shot down 3 Israeli F-35s and captured a pilot, though Israel denies the report. If true, Iran could gain valuable intelligence from wreckage, interrogations, and potentially sharing it with allies like China and Russia. I'm not saying that they didn't shoot down an F-35 or 3 of them, but what I do know is that they have been using on social media a bunch of AI, a bunch of flight simulation video footage, which is pretty incredible and pretty amazing, and tricking people into thinking that they've shot down a lot more stuff than they have. So, maybe they have shot down 3 F-35s. Maybe they've shot down 1. Maybe they do have a pilot. I don't know. I just know that they've already been caught lying about stuff and putting out propaganda, which is normal. That's what we would expect. So I just have a good amount of skepticism for that. All right. Last but not least, this is an opinion piece. The U.S. military preparedness. Rapid technological changes and global tensions demand U.S. preparation for prolonged conflict, but low pilot training hours, aircraft readiness, and weapons stockpile pose challenges. The author calls for disciplined budgeting and strategic investment to address systematic issues. 100% agree. We can't go wasting our stockpile of munitions. We can't treat our jets inappropriately. We've got to take care of what we have. That is what we go to war with, not what we're getting in the future. We go to war with the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Space Force that we have today. All right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're out here. Later.